Cells 8, 16, 32, 64, and on and on and on, and till you get to 30 trillion cells. 30 trillion, not billion, not million, trillion cells. I mean, it's a number that is so big it's impossible to even understand, 30 trillion cells, 200 different kinds of cells, right? 200. So not only is the one cell from the mother and the father becoming 2 cells and 4 cells, it's also becoming different kinds of cells, right? And this is very important, very significant. The types of cells that we have in the body: heart cells, lung cells, brain cells, nerve cells. What other kinds of cells are there? You name some cells in the body. How about what's the heart pumping around? The blood? Blood. So the blood is another type of cell, right? It has, I shouldn't say, the blood is made up of liquid. Hi, good morning, good morning. We're talking, welcome to the class. What's your name? Aliyah? Nice to have you in class. We're talking about my daughter-in-law who gave birth to a boy last night or this morning, and we're talking about the 30 trillion cells that make up the human body, which starts out as one cell and doubles and doubles and doubles until it becomes 30 trillion cells, and then is made up of 200 or more different kinds of cells. And that's one of the great revolutions of life, was the creation of different kinds of cells. For a long time, life was only one kind of cell. In the beginning of the earth, the first life were bacteria cells. You couldn't even see them. If you looked around on the earth at that time, you'd say, is there any life here? But the waters and the air and the rocks were full of life, tiny, tiny cells, that there were different kinds of bacteria, but basically each kind had the same type of cell, and they didn't hang out with other bacteria. They didn't work together, I should say. The cells in our body work together. They are lung cells, heart cells, kidney cells, blood cells, nerve cells, all types of cells that have different jobs. And this was one of the great revolutions in life, when cells took on different roles in an animal or plant. So a plant has root cells, it has leaf cells, it has bark cells, it has the vessel cells, many, many different kinds of cells, and this changed the world. The world went from animals and plants that were only single cells, and now they combined together with new types of cells to produce animals and plants that you could see, that were as big as a mouse or as big as a cactus tree. or as big as an elephant, and or a worm. All of a sudden, life was, you could see it, and the reason for that was um, different kinds of cells had been created. How did that ever come about? How could that have ever happened? We don't know. It's one of the great mysteries. Now, you could say God did it, right? That's an answer. Um, but basically, we don't know, other than the answer of God, we don't know how the different cells came about and created new forms of life. About 2 billion years ago, that revolution started with a new kind of cell that had suddenly appeared on the scene that was different from what had been. This new kind of cell was 10 times bigger than a bacteria and could swim around in a much better way, had better mobility. It had more, it was much more sensitive to the world than a bacteria. You could say it had a greater consciousness. Hmm? And this new type of cell formed the basis for the changing world that came about and enabled us to be sitting here today. It's most extraordinary. How did life do anything like that? How did life go from such a simple form that you couldn't even see to rhinoceros and elephant and a blue whale and a porpoise and whatever, birds and fish and insects and all the things that we have around us today, all the wonderful things, and it's all a mystery. We are mysteries. Each of us is a mystery. Each of us came out of the universe and evolved and changed, which means changed. Evolved just means changed. Changed over time. And over time, all life changes. It's amazing, right? It's unbelievable. Not only does all life change, but all life relates to each other. Hmm? All life, all life, while it is changing, while it is going from a bacteria to an amoeba to a worm to a fish, all life still is relating to the whole of life. So that if you're a bird, for example, you need to have something to eat. And where are you going to get that something to eat? You're going to find, say, a grasshopper or a worm or um, what else? A seed. And all of those things depend for their lives on plants. Right? A grasshopper eats plants. A worm. What does a worm eat? I'm not sure. um, but a mouse might eat seeds. Uh, um, uh, a bird might eat seeds or insects that have eaten seeds. So everything depends on plants. And the miracle of plants, without plants, we wouldn't be here. Why? Why is that? Plants are the only forms of life that make their own food. right? We cannot make our own food. A mouse cannot make its own food. A whale cannot make its own food, right? No animal can make its own food. We have to get our food from plants, which are able to make food from the sunlight. How incredible is that? A plant takes in sunlight, takes in water, and takes in carbon, which, what is carbon? That's weird, right? Carbon is an atom that's floating around in the air. How amazing. It's just floating around the air with nitrogen, with oxygen, with water vapor. It's just floating around out there. Why is that? That's another long story. But carbon, a plant takes in this molecule carbon, which is essential for making sugar. The molecule carbon can grab onto different molecules or atoms and make sugar. And that's essential for the whole living world. If plants couldn't do that, life would not be the way it is today. Also, we not only get our food from plants, what else do we get from plants? That's really important. Any ideas? Has something to do with breathing. Hmm? What do we get from plants? All right, I'll tell you. Um, I know you figure it out yourself anyway, but it might take you a little time. It's a hard question, but we get oxygen. Oxygen, how amazing! Um, the plant, when it makes its sugar, it gives off oxygen. How incredible! We breathe that oxygen. A bird breathes the oxygen. Even a fish is breathing that oxygen that essentially comes from plants. There was no oxygen to speak of in the air when the earth first formed. There was nitrogen, there was carbon, there was oh, methane, which is the stuff like it comes out of your gas stove, methane. The gas in the stove is, you can light it. That's what was in the air when the earth first formed, but the air changed over time because of plants. And it was the plants that, when they make their sugars, they take apart water and carbon dioxide from the air, and they put oxygen out. We breathe out carbon dioxide, and plants breathe out oxygen. It's a nice arrangement. Plants love carbon dioxide. That becomes the basis of food for them. So we breathe that out, and they breathe out oxygen. That's a good arrangement, isn't it? Who figured that out? Um, Again, you might say God. Um, what is the universe? How is it the universe produces life? Amazing, right? We're made of the ordinary stuff of the universe. We're not made of anything strange or different. We're made of the actual stuff that everything is made out of, like the, the, the rocks under our feet, the soil, um, water, the air we breathe. All these things are ordinary atoms, little things that bounce around and create the world. And we're made of ordinary stuff: carbon and oxygen and nitrogen, phosphorus, hydrogen. Um, put those together in the right way and you get life. How incredible. You take out any one of those, if you take out oxygen, the world would change. If you take out nitrogen, the world would change. And if you take out carbon, the world would disappear. I mean, and living things couldn't exist without carbon. Because this little atom of carbon is the only atom, well, I shouldn't say it's the only atom, but it's the one that works the best, apparently. It works at best to make the kinds of atomic structures that are necessary to create living things. That's any questions or comments? Any questions? You're good, right? You're good to go. Okay, so how weird that the universe produces the foundation for life. How weird that the universe makes this. What is this? A glass of water. Without water, no life. Water is so important that without it, life couldn't exist. We have never found any kind of life that it can exist without water. Even viruses have to work in water. Our cells depend upon water so that they are supported by water, and also all the processes that go on in the cell depends on water. Right? When you take a piece of bread and you eat it, the body takes that apart, and it takes it apart in a watery environment inside of us. Without that, it wouldn't work. Digestion would not work. You could not do anything with the food you ate. And so that's only one way that water makes life happen. There's so many different ways, and we haven't even discovered all the ways. The water is actually made by the body when the body goes through different processes, such as making our proteins. The body has a way of manufacturing the proteins in our body, which are very, very interesting. We're made of proteins, basically. After water, the body is proteins. So you have all different kinds of proteins. You have proteins in the blood, you have proteins in the lungs, you have proteins in the heart, you have proteins in all the muscles of the body, you have proteins even in the bones, our teeth, everything is made of different proteins. And these different proteins do different jobs. There's thousands of different little proteins. What's a protein? It's a little tiny structure that is made of different molecules like carbon and oxygen and hydrogen, and they fold up in particular ways because they are electrically charged in a certain way to fold up so that they form the building blocks of life. If the protein wasn't made, if the protein didn't have the right charge, electrical charges, we wouldn't be here. And proteins are all like little factories, not factories, but like little bricks that help put the body together. It's amazing. It's totally amazing. Um, a protein and the protein, without water, proteins wouldn't work at all. They wouldn't even form because the proteins are made of little structures called amino acids, which when they have to be brought together, hundreds of them, sometimes thousands of these little structures. There's 20 different kinds in the body, and the body picks out the right ones and puts them in the right order so that the protein is a long string, and then it folds up in just the right way. If you have one or two proteins wrong in that string, it doesn't work. So the body has to figure out how to put the little amino acids together so that that this thing will fold up into a protein, which is like a little glob. It looks like a little glob, but it's very special and specially designed to do a certain job. And when these amino acids are put together, from one side of an amino acid you get hydrogen, and from the other side you get oxygen, so that the body makes water. When the amino acids are put together, the body actually makes water. And about 10% of the body, 10% of the water in our body is because of the body making that water in various processes, in various ways to create what the body needs. It's unbelievable. Well, I think I just turned myself off. It's unbelievable. There are, as I mentioned, about 200 different kinds of cells. And these cells in the body, like the lung cells and the muscle cells and the brain cells and the stomach cells and the skin cells, they're all working together. They're all not only working together, but they're all telling each other giving each other different messages. They're communicating with each other. So, if you put your finger on a hot stove, what happens? What happens? You put your finger on a hot stove, you're gonna jump, right? Because as soon as you do that, even before you realize it's hot, the body knows something is wrong at the tip of the finger, and it sends a message through the nerves to the spinal cord and into the brain, and then that message says hot, move right now. It's amazing, right? So the body is communicating. So the cells in every part of the body is made of little cells. So we have in our fingertip little cells, right? Little cells that are talking to each other, and they're checking out the world. They're saying, well, it's nice out here right now, but if you put your hand on the stove, they're going to say, whoa, something's going on, we got to move. And they do it like that. They do it so fast you don't even realize it's hot before you've moved. That's how fast it is. And the body is always adjusting. The cells of the body are always communicating with each other and outside. So, for example, if you stand up right now, the body says something's different, and we're going to need to breathe more, right? We're going to have to take in more oxygen because you're moving around. The body knows this. How does it know this? You know, how does it know that you've stood up and you need more oxygen? So you're going to start breathing a little bit more because the body is telling other parts of the body is telling the brain, for example, that you need more air and the lungs need more oxygen. And so the heart starts pumping harder and you're going to get more oxygen because there's more blood flowing through the lungs now. And how does that all work? Right? That's incredible. Right? How does that, how did that ever come about? You know, everything is working like if you go to sleep, the body gets quiet. Hmm? Body calms down, the heart starts to rest, the heart beats more slowly, the breath is more slow. Um, all the body, what's going on in the body starts to slow down. You don't need so much oxygen. You don't need so much food or water. Everything is adjusting as you're going to sleep. And then when you wake up, what happens? The body also changes, right? The body knows that something's different. You're awake. You need more air. Maybe you're hungry. How do we, hunger is an interesting thing, right? Why do we feel hunger?
My name is Audrey. I would like to say something.
Hmm?
My name is Audrey, Aurey, and I would like to say something.
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay for me to say something?
Oh, absolutely.
I believe in God. I believe in the Bible.
But you have to, honey, you have to speak up because it's hard for me to hear. Um, I'm getting older. What is it? Go ahead. Go ahead.
In the name called God, I believe, and a whole lot of other people believe in the man called God who
Yes.
and how
Yes.
they come together and make a life. All that comes from a man called God.
Yes.
Man didn't just do that by himself, by themselves. And I believe in God. He's
Yes. Thank you.
all over the world. He's up in heaven and he makes it rain. He makes it lightning. He makes it thunder. And he makes people how to come together and make human beings. Now that's my belief.
Thank you. I believe that too. So that all this science is telling us how wonderful God is,
Yeah.
right? All this science is saying that God is a miracle worker,
Yes, he is. He made the world.
made the world, made the stars,
Something into your head called a brain.
right?
Yeah. And the
Right.
function. And he knows
Absolutely.
what to say. And
Thank you.
people how to come to a man and a woman has to come together to make a human being.
Yes, we're just talking about that. My daughter-in-law had a baby last night.
God, and everything that happens comes from God.
Yes.
That's what
Everything comes out of the great mystery of God. Everything is part of God's being. Would you say that? Everything is dependent on God.
yeah.
In India, we have many. It's interesting that everywhere you go, you could go to India, you could go to France, you could go to South America, Australia. And what do you find? You find people believing in God everywhere you go. How interesting is that?
Everything that goes on, the clouds, the skies, the rain, God made all of that. He made the
Hmm. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Put something
So, everywhere we look.
going to expel water, something inside you will tell you when the body needs food. All that comes from God.
Yes,
And everything comes from God. And anybody don't believe in this, they have a problem.
yes, I
Mhm.
agree with you. And you see, the world is a great miracle that rests on God.
Yeah,
The world is a wonder in every moment, everywhere we look.
yeah,
There is a miracle and a wonder and a mystery. This, we say this water.
he wrote the Bible.
He wrote the Bible.
Water. If he hadn't made water, you wouldn't be drinking that water now.
That's right.
So he made water. He made every
Right. Right.
is how two human beings, a man and a woman, can come together and create a life.
Right.
Yes. And that gets to me. And because I never had children.
Oh.
Only him
Mm-hmm.
give a person a brain in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, to know right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
A woman can come together and create a human being. All this comes from God.
Mm-hmm. We live every moment
Yeah,
is a wonder.
and exhale and comes from Him.
Mm-hmm. Every moment we live in the mystery of God and the mystery of the wonder of things.
That's why He wrote a book called the Bible. You can believe or you can disbelieve.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that, if more people believe that, we would have a better world.
Well, then the one part of it is Satan. Leave
Uh-huh.
him alone.
I see.
Give you a choice: choose Satan or choose Him.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain, something that put in your head, the brain to function your whole body.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
if a person think don't think that he
Mm-hmm.
you have to leave God to get to Him.
Mm-hmm.
To go to heaven or to hell, you have a choice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everything you sitting
You
on
have a choice. That's important, right?
your screen, God put that in some man's brain or somebody's brain
Uh-huh.
that the world can see and to hear and to know. And it all comes from God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to read a poem now. Let's see. This is, speaking of God. Here's a poem by Mary Oliver. I wake close to morning. Why do people keep asking to see God's identity papers? When the darkness opening into morning is more than enough. Isn't that wonderful? Certainly, any God might turn away in disgust.
There's no such thing as no any God. It isn't the one.
Right, right, right. Well, she's a poet, so we have to give her a little leeway.
It wouldn't be on earth if it hadn't come from Him.
Right. Well, just hang on a sec. Think of Sheba approaching the kingdom of Solomon. Do you think she had to ask, is this the place?
Well, before then, there was no such thing as Sheba or nothing until God made earth and put human being down.
Mm-hmm.
And He give a way for people to know how to make human beings. Man,
Yes, yes. Thank you.
human.
Thank you. So let
Yes.
me see if I can find, let's see. Here's a world, here's a poem called The World I Live In. I have refused to live locked in the orderly house of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you possibly ever see one. What do you think? You like that, Paul?
Before before God made the world, there was no such thing as a brain.
Mm-hmm.
He had to put the brain into the man's head,
That's right.
and a woman had to come together and create a human being.
That's right.
So
I just had a baby last night.
to God,
Well, I didn't have the baby.
no other way, no other one.
Mm-hmm.
No. And they give each one of us down here on earth a certain time to be here. Sometimes people fix themselves, seek their own lives, but he put you down here to think for yourself, think positive. That's why he created schools and nurses and doctors. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't for God, would none of this be? It wouldn't be no world.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
So,
Thank you, dear.
right. If
Um,
it wasn't for God, you wouldn't be on this earth.
so,
Give somebody some brain to create so a human being can be seen all over the world through a piece of eye. That's what I call it. Yeah, and you wouldn't nobody see you if it hadn't God had put into a man's or woman's head how to be on television, look through a piece of eye and see a human being. He can see us.
uh-huh. And I can see you too, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. I can hear you. It's pretty amazing, right? A few years ago, no one would believe this.
If not, I brought this up, this would never conversation wouldn't be. That's why he gave somebody a brain to make something called a television.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Wouldn't nobody hear or see you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
knowing him, God, and feel him, you inhaling and exhaling and do whatever else you have to do, have bowel movements and everything, all that comes from God.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Everything comes from God. There is nothing but God, as they say in India.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
God is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So this week there was a article in the New York Times about how we are looking for life on other planets. Hmm? We are looking for life on Mars, on Venus. We are looking for life on planets that go around other stars. We
He made the whole thing. Didn't no other planets make nothing else.
hmm What do you think? Did God make life on other planets?
Wherever he put human, two men, a man, a woman have to come together and make other human.
That's right.
Oh,
But do you think that there are other humans on other planets?
no, no,
No?
ain't no other one. He made the world. The world is the mean the universe.
Well, couldn't he make other worlds with life on it?
When you say the earth, you're including everything.
Well, but there are other Earths.
Because the way you think, well, how you know ABC? God must have made them, huh?
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. But what we're saying is that God made other Earths.
He made one.
Yeah.
No,
Apparently we can look out into space now and we can see other Earths going around other stars.
they moving. People can sit them and look all over the world. In somebody's brain, I'm gonna put something in your brain to where people can see the whole world.
Right,
That's why a man and a woman has to come together to make life.
right. even a fish,
So, yeah, that's right. And we
right?
things like that for humans to eat. Cows, bears, you name it, he claim it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other one.
Yes, it's very marvelous.
Just
Every moment is very marvelous. Every moment we are living in the great mystery of this universe and of God. Every moment we are living in a wonder that is beyond our understanding.
that's why he gives your brain something to think.
Hmm.
Your brain, and he put something in your brain where you can see with your eyes. He got two
Hmm.
nose
Uh,
on the nose, but you can inhale and exhale and breathe the deepest down here on earth. He made a mouth with put teeth in it and certain things to become out teeth. So you
that's right.
can,
You know, here's something interesting about teeth that I read recently. The teeth have the hardest surface in the body. Teeth are harder than bones.
yeah, yeah,
And isn't that amazing? That the teeth, I'm getting too warm here. The teeth um, have to be harder than bones to last a whole lifetime.
yeah. All that came from him. From
That's right. That's right. So isn't that a wonder? That even if we're having a piece of toast, we're eating this toast with our teeth, and the teeth have the this miracle of being the hardest surface in the body.
that's why he did it. He
Hmm. We have, the blood, right? The blood is going around the body.
Lord said, when I say man, he meant he, it, whatever they want to be when they get grown. But
Hmm.
us make man.
Yeah.
Humans are made. It's a mystery to me because I'm an old woman. I never had children.
Uh huh.
It's a miracle.
Yes.
A man and a woman has to come together and create a life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a miracle. We were before you came to class.
If a man and woman come together, get a good feeling, and they think she knows she got a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter-in-law had a baby at 5 o'clock in the morning last night.
All time of night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, that's right.
Hmm. Well, my dears, we're coming to the end of the class. Um, maybe I'll just
Okay.
let's see. Here's a wonderful book.
Oh, you do? Well, this is my first time seeing
This
it.
is a wonderful book. It's called What a Plant Knows. And we're learning that plants are much more intelligent than we thought.
Sure.
They,
He
they
makes plants for humans to survive.
that's right.
Everything you mostly come out the ground.
Right. Right.
And
Um, um, all right. I think we're going to end it here today.
my
Um,
noise.
I think I want to thank everybody for participating in the class and for listening and for being very attentive. And I hope that you found this interesting today and that you will come back next week and we'll have a discussion about life and God and the world and the universe. And bring anything you want, bring questions or any comments you want to make. And as we move through the world today, we can be maybe a little more aware of the wonders around us. and the miracles.
Accordingly, that's why I read the Bible and talk to God. I talk to Him.
Uh-huh. Good. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. I want to thank everybody today for being here, and I really appreciate it. And be well and stay safe. And hopefully we'll see each other next time.
Okay, we will.
Take care.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talking to you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, we're all done. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Hey, where did I go with it? What happened here? What? It's over here in my pocket. Oh, yeah, there it is. Welcome. Good, good.